Today we're gonna take normal blocks of inexpensive cheese and we're gonna turn them into delicious smoked cheese blocks using the Ninja Woodfire. Welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today's recipe, or I would say technique really, is incredibly simple. There's like zero prep to it. You just have to get your smoker set up for cold smoking. Now, let's talk a little bit about what cold smoking is. As the name implies, it is smoking, but without heat, so it's cold smoking. It is best done when the ambient temperature outside is in the 40s or the 50s, okay? So it's better in the cooler months. Now, I have tested the recipe for cheese in the middle of summer when it was 100 and some degrees, and it did work, but you're gonna find that your cheese sweats a little bit more, okay? Because what happens when you cold smoke, and I'm gonna specifically be referring to cold smoking on the Ninja Woodfire Outdoor Grill and Smoker or the oven, because you could do this in the Ninja Woodfire Outdoor Oven as well, okay? It's got the smoking feature and it does have the cold smoke. So what you're essentially doing is you're heating the pellets up in the hopper, but you're not creating any heat other than what's generated from the pellets inside the smoker. So the smoke is going over the food just like it is when we hot smoke, but there's no electric heating element that's engaged while we cold smoke. So there's no heat going on except for what's produced by the pellets. And surprisingly enough, in the wood fire, the pellets do conduct a little bit of heat, okay? Because they're burning, right? And they're pretty close and it's a small smoker. So when I tested the recipe, we did see temperatures climb into the higher 90s and even up into 100-degree levels for cold smoking during the middle of summer when the temperatures outside were pretty hot, like they were in the 90s and 100s. That's not optimal for cold smoking. So we want to try to keep the inside of the grill as low of a temperature as we can, but definitely below 80 degrees, okay? Now, in the cold months, I think it's gonna be perfectly fine. So depending on where you live, this will work either way, but it is a little bit better when it's cold outside. So the first thing when you're gonna smoke your cheese is to know that it's not a quick thing. Smoking it is quick, okay? You can smoke it for 1 to 2 hours and that's perfectly fine. However, for the best results, it needs to be processed a certain way. And by that, I mean we wrap it, put it in the refrigerator, we let it cool, and then you vacuum seal it. And it's best if you leave it in the vacuum seal for about 2 weeks. Now, if you don't have a vacuum sealer, don't worry about that. You can use a freezer bag and just try to get as much air out as possible and put it into the refrigerator for 2 weeks or so. And that time really lets the smoke flavor kind of mellow. Otherwise, what happens is you have a harsher smoke flavor on the outside and not really much on the inside. So that really makes a big difference. So plan on smoking your cheese about 2 weeks before you want to serve it. Okay. The second thing you need to consider is what pellets are you going to use. This is really important, I think, when you're smoking anything, but especially with cheese. You want to pick a mild pellet, okay, or a mild smoke. My go-to is apple all the way. I use apple consistently for cheese. I love it. But you could use cherry if you prefer that, or you could even use maple. Especially your first time, I really recommend picking a pellet that's gonna give you a mild smoke flavor. I just think you're gonna enjoy the cheese more. All right, the third thing we need to do is set up the smoker. So it starts to ignite the pellets and also lets out some of the white smoke. The white smoke, I don't worry about it too much with bigger pieces of meat, but with smaller things and especially cheese and little delicate items like that, I like to let that white smoke out. So I will burn the pellets for a good 10 minutes or so before I even put the cheese on. That white smoke tends to be a little harsh and a little acrid, okay? So it just imparts kind of a strange flavor and I don't like it. So we're gonna let it go for about 10 minutes. So the first thing you wanna do is add the pellets to the hopper. Then you're gonna go around to the display panel and you're gonna select the smoker function and take the temperature all the way down. Just keep hitting that button until you see CLD. That is cold smoking. That means we're not going to engage the electric heating elements at all when we're doing this smoke. Then you're gonna set your time for 2 hours and we will hit start and those pellets will ignite. So once your pellets have ignited and they've started to smoke for at least 5 minutes, open up the smoker and let all that heavy smoke out before you place your cheese on the grill grate. You can place the cheese any which way you want. It does not make any difference. Just keep in mind that when you pull it off, they are all gonna look pretty much the same if they're the same shape. So you may wanna make a note of where you place the cheese on the grill grate so that you know which one is which. So you might be wondering, what kind of cheeses can I actually smoke? Really any kind you want. Now I like to go with semi-soft to firm cheeses. I think they absorb the smoke better, but people are actually hot smoking cream cheese and putting it with like some kind of a jelly or a chutney and serving it as a dip, and I understand it's absolutely delicious. Now I don't have any cream cheese here. We're not doing that today. We're doing semi-soft to hard cheeses, and the first one I have is Parmesan. So this is an 8-ounce block of Parmesan. And just right out of the package, right? And these are not expensive because I like to try to be as frugal as possible when I can. Then I have a Gouda. I love smoked Gouda, but it's really hard to find around here. So I'm gonna smoke my own. This is just a regular Gouda. We have an 8-ounce block of mozzarella. We have an 8-ounce block of mild cheddar, sharp cheddar, and then Swiss. If you haven't had smoked Swiss, oh my gosh, it is amazing. So with the cheese, when you put it on the grill grate, you can either stand it up like I did, or you can lay them down flat. Either way is fine. We are gonna flip them over periodically throughout this 1 hour, 50-minute smoking time. No worries how you put them on the grill. Just make sure that they will all fit, obviously, on the grill grate. What I recommend with the pellets is every time you go out to check on the cheese and flip it, check the hopper box. When it gets to about 50% full, so 50% has burned, add in some more. That way the heat from those pellets will ignite the new pellets and you won't have to hit the ignition button, which is gonna produce that heavier smoke that we kind of don't want with our cheese. However, if you find that your pellets have burned out or they completely are gone, go ahead and hit the ignite button, let it get going, and then open up the lid to let that smoke out until it's fully ignited, and then close it up. All right, so our cheese is all done smoking. It was in the smoker for about 1 hour and 45 minutes. You can go a little bit longer if you want to. That's no problem, but I like to do it about 2 hours. I find that that gives a nice mild smoke to the cheese. Now, if you look at it, you'll see that there's beads of like little sweat. The cheese is kind of soft. That is just from the heat produced from the pellets, okay? So that's why this next step is sort of important for the best quality. What I like to do is set this over to the side, take some parchment paper, cut it into squares like this, and then you're gonna take one of your blocks of cheese and sort of wrap it up. The reason why I use parchment is because it's a little bit absorbent, but it's also able to breathe, okay? So I'm gonna wrap it up like a little package. You could use more parchment if you wanted to make it easier. You could secure it with tape if you wanted to. I don't. Just sort of wrap it up like that. And then I'm gonna put it into a bag, or you could put it back on a clean tray if you wanted to. Put it in a bag, but leave the bag open. We want this to chill in the refrigerator. We want it to set up, but we want air to reach it, okay? So I'm gonna do that for all of them. And also I'll show you what I did to keep track. Is before I smoked, I put a little S, okay? So this one I know is the sharp cheddar. And I put an S, but it's a little bit different for the Swiss. So I know which one is which. I put an M for the mozzarella, and then I can tell what the rest of them are. So that was my little trick there. Once you have all your cheese wrapped, put them in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours, but you could do up to, 8 hours or even overnight is perfectly fine. And then we'll get them packaged for how they're gonna stay in the refrigerator for a full 2 weeks before we slice them. So after the cheese has been in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours, you can check it to see if it's ready to be bagged up. You want it to not be sticky or tacky, and you want it to be solid again, okay? Because remember, it's soft when it comes off the smoker. This one looks pretty good, okay? Now, do I know which one this is? I think this is the mild cheddar because it doesn't have any markings on it. But let's go ahead and cut into it because I want to explain the flavors and then compare them to the ones that have been in the refrigerator for 2 weeks. Actually, this might be the Gouda. Yeah, I think this might be the Gouda. Oh my goodness. So it's delicious. But the smoke flavor is very much on the outside right now. And it's just a little bit bitter, okay? And that is normal when you smoke cheese. That's why we let it sit. If you do not have a vacuum sealer, put it in a bag, fold it, and try to get as much air out as absolute possible. Seal it up. And there you go. Now, put this in the refrigerator for 2 weeks until you're ready to serve it. Is it good after a week? Probably. I mean, it's good right now. It's just not as good as after it sits. If you're going to use your vacuum sealer, I recommend doing each block of cheese individually in its own bag. So this is cheese I tested about 6 weeks ago, so it's actually been in the refrigerator for quite some time, and that's perfectly fine. Vacuum sealed, it's going to last a really long time in the refrigerator. This is the smoked mozzarella, so let's go ahead and try that. That's one of the ones I tried right after smoking just to see what the flavor was, and it was good, but I thought it was a little bit harsh, just like the one I just tasted. All right, here we go. Wow. I'm amazed. Wow. Perfectly balanced. Perfectly smoked. Oh my gosh, that's so good. This is the mild cheddar. It actually looks like a sharp cheddar. I mean, it's really like gotten a little bit crumbly, a little bit drier than normal. Let's see. Wow. This is better than any store-bought smoked cheddar that I've ever had. Oh my goodness, it's good. All right, this is the Swiss. I'm getting the inside piece because if I get this outer piece, so it's gonna be a little bit smokier. So I'll taste both though. Wow. So far, this is my favorite. Wow, that's good. Now, I like the inside piece better than the outside piece, I'll be honest. And this is sharp cheddar. Wow. The sharp cheddar doesn't have as much flavor as the mild cheddar, believe it or not. I mean, it's good, but I prefer the mild cheddar smoked over the sharp cheddar. All right, now this is some Parmesan. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of the Parmesan and then I'm gonna grate some of it. Wow, that smoke really penetrated the Parmesan. Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is my favorite, hands down. You know how bitey a Parmesan is? The smoke milds that out. Oh. Amazing. All of them. Now, if you wanted some smoked Parmesan for one of your dishes, just grate it up. Oh my goodness. I cannot even begin to tell you how delicious all of these cheeses are. Least favorite was the sharp cheddar, but not because it wasn't good. It was, I just didn't get a lot of the smoke flavor in that as compared to some of the others. I didn't do Gouda last time, apparently. I looked in the refrigerator for my Gouda and I'm like, where's my smoked Gouda? Apparently I didn't do it. So I'm really glad I picked that one to taste because I thought I did smoked Gouda. And it was delicious, so it's gonna even be better in 2 weeks. So the next time you wanna have a fancy cheese board, smoke your own cheese in the Ninja Woodfire Grill.